Hey everybody, it's Mike here from The Art of Guitar, here with another brutally honest concert review video. This one is for Megadeth and BIOHAZARD.
MEGADETH! MEGADETH!
This took place at Mystic Lake Casino in Prior Lake, Minnesota on September 30th, 2023. Now I had bought tickets about a month before the show, and then I heard that Kiko was actually not going to be on the tour anymore. And I just kind of feared the worst. I thought, if they don't bring Marty back and they just bring somebody in at the last second and they're not really super solid with the band, it's kind of maybe not be worth it. So I thought maybe what I'll do is I'll put my tickets back on Ticketmaster and then I'll catch them on the next tour. And I put up a post about it on my social media and everybody's like, no man, you still have to go. By this time, they found out that Tamo was going to actually fill in, and a lot of people knew about him. And they're like, this guy is legit. You just have to go to the show. So you guys completely convinced me to still go to the show, and I'm super grateful for it because it was a great time. But let's talk about it. I had to decide who to take with me because I had 2 tickets, and I decided on my friend Corey Swap from the band Sanctus. And a long time ago, I think back in '95, he and I both roadied for Megadeth for one show. And it was a great show. Korn was on the bill, Flotsam and Jetsam, Fear Factory. It was incredible. And that was the show. I talk about it all the time, but I was backstage going to the bathroom in the urinal, and all of a sudden I look over and I see Marty Friedman. Marty Friedman was peeing next to me. So it's just like, this is so strange. So we get to Mystic Lake Casino and we go inside, and I know the drill by now because the week before I went and saw 311, which was a great show too. Doing a concert review on that as well. That should be coming out pretty soon. I kind of reversed the order in these, but I had to get this Megadeth one out quick. So we get through the casino pretty fast. I don't want the temptation. I'm kind of gambling runs in my family, so I'm like, the less I'm in the actual casino area before the show, the better. So we just decided to go right to the showroom area. Saw the merch table set up. There was all sorts of t-shirts and all this merchandise for both bands. So it was a pretty full merch table, and it was kind of exciting because I got to choose my favorite shirt. Yikes. I went with this one because I love the old school black and white look. It's very simple. And then Corey said that he really liked the BIOHAZARD hoodie, so I kept that in mind. We got inside and it was such a cool feeling to go around and go down towards the stage. We were about 6 rows back, and that felt really great because the week before I had already talked about it, we saw 311, and it was more on the upper side, the upper deck that we sat in. So this is great to go right up close, even though every seat in this room is pretty good because it only holds about 2,000 people. And there are screens and everything like that. So it's a really good place to see a band. If your favorite band happens to go to Mystic Lake Showroom in Minnesota, check them out because it's going to be a pretty intimate experience. It's funny because the first 2 rows had a lot of people wearing these VIP shirts. And on the back, it said something like, I'm a Megadeth VIP and you're not. And I just imagine Dave Mustaine creating that. He's like, yeah, this would be a great t-shirt. It just seems like a Dave Mustaine thing to do. The stage setup looked pretty modest. The stage is already gigantic. So an old school band like BIOHAZARD, they keep it pretty old school. They keep it pretty real. So they had their amps all set up. They had a few half stacks on each side and a bass cab. And then they had the drum set. And it all just seemed to be kind of in the middle of the stage, real condensed. When you're on this huge stage, I've been on big stages before, and you're spread out, it's really hard to feel the vibe of the band sometimes. So I can see why they kept it all together. Bands are pretty punctual nowadays, I'm noticing. Back in the day, you never knew what was going to happen. Like the time we saw Guns N' Roses and Metallica, GNR started like an hour and a half late. So it's always kind of interesting nowadays when a band starts right when the ticket says it's going to. So it's at 8 o'clock. Bam, there's BIOHAZARD. They take the stage, and I got real excited because it was my first time seeing them live. When they started, it was interesting because I noticed, they have 2 guitar players. And by the way, the band that was on the stage in front of us was the original band that I got into way back in the 90s. So it was really cool to see Evan back on bass and vocals, and he looked shredded. He was always a big dude, but it looked like he lost a bunch of weight, got way more tattoos from what I remember, and he just looked jacked up there like Pete Steele or something. But as the guitar players started playing, I noticed that they had the 2 half stacks on each side, but the inside half stack was shut off. And I thought that's kind of interesting. I wonder if they were having technical difficulties and they want to have another amp right there just in case something goes wrong. They could just plug into the other amp. I wasn't sure what was really happening. Speaking of the guitars, though, it was kind of a bummer because from where we were sitting, the guitar sounded real quiet. You could hear the bass guitar, the drums, and the vocals really well, but when it came to the crunch of the guitars, it really seemed like I was getting a very small amount of it through the main PA system. I was hearing it from the stage, I think directly from the amps because we were sitting so close, but I couldn't hear it coming out of the big speakers, and that was a huge bummer. It was still very powerful, though, and a band like BIOHAZARD, just the vocals alone are strong enough to really drive the band. But man, when those guitars came in after about the 4th song, it really filled up finally. And And for a band in their 50s, they were really moving and they had the energy of a band in like their mid-20s, like I would say. They were jumping around, doing their Biohazard thing. You know, I only saw them in videos and some live clips on YouTube, but to be there, you really felt the energy of it. The drummer was so driving. And I've been seeing a lot of bands lately that play to clicks. You know, the drummer will wear an earpiece and kind of play to a click to keep the whole show on track or whatever. But you could tell he was not doing that. Like I said, old school Biohazard. So you could feel that the whole tempo and the drive of the songs were being driven by the drummer. And Danny had a pretty minimal kit. You know, whenever you think of like a metal band, I always picture a huge drum set, kind of like what Megadeth has. But this looked more like a funk kit or something like that. So it was really cool that he was getting so much out of that drum kit. Now, as far as crowd participation goes, you really had no choice. If you were in the front area, Billy was jumping off the stage. He was yelling at us. He was like, you guys, we gotta get this going. You know, I know we're in a theater, but let's go. And somehow he convinced people to get up off their chairs and stand up in the front of the stage. So it felt like we were at First Ave main room or something all of a sudden. But he also had them running back and forth. He was actually showing everybody how to do it. So he jumps off stage and I just see his head going back and forth and people are starting to follow. And I'm like, is he really going to pull off a circle pit in the middle of a theater like this? It didn't quite get to that level. I mean, the security guard looked like he was kind of freaking out a little bit, but he let everybody do their thing for at least one song. And then he started to usher people back to their seats. But Billy almost did it. I got a little bit nervous after that song because I believe that was the time Billy was like, hey, everybody, he's just one guy. And he points at the security guy who's kind of an older dude. I felt really bad for him. Billy goes, there's only one guy and there's all of you. You know, if you guys want to go crazy and form a pit, you could do it. But, you know, I'm kind of glad that people didn't really listen to him because it really wasn't the right setting. I could see things getting too chaotic and all of a sudden, you know, you're opening for Megadeth. You don't want to bring that energy again. So I think it was a good idea that most of us were too old to want to jump into a pit in the middle of a theater. Maybe it's a good thing sometimes getting old, I don't know. Like I said, nobody in the band seemed to miss a step. Bobby, who's known for doing his spinning move, he was doing that all night. And then they kicked into Punishment. So they kick into it, and Corey, my friend, is like, I feel like I want to go up and, you know, jump in the pit or something. And I go, dude, I don't know if you want to do that here because you might end up in casino jail. You know, I don't know what that is, but I heard about it and I'm like, it might not be a good idea to end up there. You won't be able to see Megadeth and who knows what's going to happen to you. You know, I'll try to bail you out, but I can't promise you anything. So cooler heads prevailed and he didn't go up there. He just stayed back and enjoyed it. And it was so awesome. I actually had to put my phone down. I was going to actually film the whole intro. But I really wanted to just be in the moment when they kicked into the groove and it kind of speeds up a little bit. That's one of my favorite feelings when bands do that. So after Punishment, I thought that would be the end of their set. You know, usually bands end with their biggest hit. But they had one more song to go. So I thought, you know, this might be a good opportunity for me to go, which means go to the bathroom. So I snuck out the back, and right outside there's a men's bathroom with just one stall and one urinal. It's just the stupidest build ever. And so there's already a line forming to go, and I thought I'm going to be here like all night if I stay here. Luckily, I found a secret passage. I saw a guy kind of wave me over. He's like, hey. And I ran over and there was a secret hallway that led to another bathroom that was much bigger. The only problem is it was right next to the bingo hall. So you could hear through the speakers, through the PA speakers, like G17 or whatever. And I couldn't help myself. I was at the urinal and all of a sudden I just yell out, bingo. One guy laughed, so it was worth it. I went back to the merch table, ended up getting this shirt, and then I picked up that hoodie for Corey. I come back and Corey's talking to a bunch of like younger dudes. They look like teenagers, maybe early 20s or something. It was really cool because a lot of people on the row that I was sitting in have heard or seen my channel. So I was taking pictures with people. It really felt like a family reunion type vibe. All these musicians, everybody wearing metal shirts. You know, it kind of felt like I was back in high school again, actually. So the lights finally go down. The big screens light up, and every time I saw footage of Megadeth playing in the last couple of years, it's always quite the light show, quite the audio-visual experience. So they had this really exciting animated intro with a bunch of flashing stuff happening. And all of a sudden, bam, there they were. You know, everybody was there. It was kind of weird not to see Dave Ellefson, because every time I've seen them before, it was Dave Ellefson and Marty Friedman. But to see Tamo, I keep wanting to say Timu, but Tamo, and to see, you know, James, and just to see the band as they are now, I really appreciated the fact that they were even there. And of course, to see Dave Mustaine standing there right in front of me was cool. And they did not ease into the show. They kicked right into Hangar 18. I looked at Corey, I'm like, this is sweet, man. They're going right for the throat, right for the jugular on the first song. And of course, you're watching Tamo play the solos. And as a guitar player, you know, I'm trying to look at every little detail that he's doing, and he's nailing it note for note, of course. It's one of those things where I'm real proud the fact that he could just come in and do that, because like I said before, I thought it was just going to be some last minute replacement who didn't really play the solos correctly, just sort of made things up or whatever. But yeah, Tamo, like everybody's talking about, fits the bill perfectly as far as playing the parts. I did miss Kiko though. It's kind of like, you know, I get my heart set on something, even like movies, you know, like Back to the Future 1. Michael J. Fox's original girlfriend, Jennifer, I was so used to her. And then when part 2 came out and all of a sudden it was Elizabeth Shue, it's cool, but it just isn't the same. You know what I mean? So I kind of had that same Back to the Future feeling when it came to seeing a new guitar player, when I had my heart set on seeing Kiko finally. One thing that really helped out Megadeth, I think, is Dirk's presence on stage back there behind the kit. Because Megadeth can come off as a pretty serious band. You know, obviously Mustaine can be, you know, a pretty hard edge guy, if you will. But Dirk is back there. It always seems like he's smiling, you know, he's just enjoying himself when he's drumming. At least he kind of puts off that energy. So it balances out the edginess of Mustaine in a really good way. And I think all great bands have a balance like that. If everyone in the band was as serious as Dave Mustaine, the stage would melt into the ground or something. I have no idea what would happen, but I think it would be too serious. So to have Dirk back there, just, you know, keeping it kind of light, I think that's really cool. I should actually say keeping the mood light of the band, you know, while playing heavy, tight ass grooves. Dave's voice was actually pretty good this night. You know, I've seen other video clips where it sounds like maybe he's struggling a little bit, but I think it's because I saw him play on Eddie Trunk's stage, and they were playing I think it was right after he had surgery or something, and his voice was really weak and, you know, frail sounding, and so I kind of half expected it to sound like that for some reason, but he sounded pretty strong, he sounded pretty confident, which is really good. I freaked out when they kicked into Angry again, because I didn't want to cheat and look at the past set list, because sometimes I do that and it's like a spoiler. I don't like to do that. So when they kicked into Angry again, it was a complete surprise to me. And they even played Mechanics, which gave me goosebumps. I did a video once where I tried to decipher the lyrics in real time, and it was, you know, kind of a funny video, but check that out if you want. But they also played The Threat Is Real, and that's one of my favorite newer Megadeth songs. And that's funny because how old is it now? I do that with a lot of bands though. Like I actually consider like Dr. Feelgood new Motley Crue. I know that's ridiculous now, but if you grew up when I did, I think you would understand what I'm talking about. The Black Album to me too is still new Metallica. I know, that's crazy. 3 songs that they didn't play that I was super bummed about. One of them is In My Darkest Hour. That's probably my favorite Megadeth song of all time. They didn't play Wake Up Dead, and I was really looking forward to that middle breakdown part and that cool pull-off lick that Dave Mustaine does. And as a guitar player who loves Marty Friedman, that's a big reason why I bought this shaped guitar. They did not play Tornado of Souls, and I thought, you know, I wonder if they played it at other shows. And I looked, and I think it was the show right after ours. They played In My Darkest Hour, Wake Up Dead, and Tornado of Souls. I'm like, I was off by one concert. I should have just went to that one. But it would have been really cool to see Tamo play all those Tornado of Souls licks live. That would have been a highlight of that concert if that would have happened, but maybe next time. Then they kicked into their final song, which was Holy Wars, which I love seeing live. And so it still had that excitement, you know, just the way Dirk plays. I know he's following the click for a lot of things to sync up on stage. I believe he is playing to a click, but, you know, he still makes it feel and sound very exciting, very human driven. So he's a master at, even if he's playing to something, to make it still feel very organic. And afterwards they came out, they were throwing out picks and sticks. And even though we were at the 6th row, we were still too far to catch any of that stuff. I think they were aiming more towards their VIP section, which makes sense, I guess. They paid the extra dough, so they deserve it. And then Dave, I don't know if he was embarrassed by the size of the venue, but he said into the mic something like, you know, we'll be back, pardon the pun, and, you know, we'll try to play a bigger place next time. And I thought, yeah, I understand, but it was really cool to see them in a 2,000-seater. Afterwards, we went back to the casino, and I was feeling pretty energized and crazy, so I'm like, you know what, let's just try to do a little gambling. And Corey doesn't gamble very much, so we just sort of stuck together. And when you listen to my 311 review, you're going to see why this is so funny. But so Corey and I stuck together. We went all around and we tried a few machines out. And at the very end, I was just like, I'm just going to get rid of whatever's left on my ticket. So we went into the high roller section, which I never go to because it's intimidating. But I went to this Wheel of Fortune game and I put my ticket in and I just kept hitting spin, spin, spin. All of a sudden I look up and I hit something. It was, I don't want to say exactly how much, but it was a lot of money that just popped up out of nowhere. And I'm like, oh my God, this never happens. Sweet. With what I won, I basically paid back what the cost of the tickets were. So the whole night was basically free. I love it when it works out that way, but I do not encourage anyone to gamble and try to win back anything when they see a concert at a casino. It's just way too tempting, and most of the time you'll lose. So all in all, I would give this concert an 8.7 out of 10. BIOHAZARD killed it. Megadeth came out. They were great. I just wish I could have seen Kiko live for the first time, but Tamo did awesome. Also, part of me does still miss Dave Ellefson, and even though James is up there doing it right, he looks the part, he plays the part, he's just a badass dude. Just something about not seeing Dave Ellefson up there sort of takes away a little bit of the experience for me. But all in all, it was a great show. I recommend seeing them anytime you can. And I'm not burnt out by any means. If they come back even next month, I would go see them because I have a feeling they would play different songs. They keep adding more and more songs. Tamo's probably doing a lot of homework in the hotel rooms, but it's paying off. All right, so thank you for watching my brutally honest concert review video. Had a lot of good things to say, not a lot of bad things to say about this one. And then keep an eye out for the 311 review. I actually brought my friend Dylan, who took me to the concert, and we do sort of a podcast/duo review. And it's going to be a lot of fun. I just have to edit it. There's a lot of editing in front of me for the next couple days, but that should be out maybe in 3 days or so. Thanks again, everyone, for watching, and we'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.